Hello everybody, and welcome to the first video of my Colchester Kriegsspiel series. We're just about to start at time of recording. People have been given the basic rule sets, they've been given a little bit of history on the people that they're playing. They have been given some basic information about their units and also where they're starting. So we're all looking forward to starting the game, and it's nice to see some commanders swapping ideas and notes and what have you to the team. When we first started, we were thinking about really going in properly double blind, but I've come across a kind of new way to do it to make it a little bit more friendly to new players of Kriegsspiel, because ultimately we want the experience to be enjoyable. So what I've said is, we'll create a Discord room, and whereas you may not be partial to too much information, you can pretty much act as one another's staff, if you like, because every commander obviously has their own little captains and runners and advisors that are on horseback assisting them, and it's just a way to maybe help each other out as much as possible without breaking the rules of the game too much. So where people will have to still send messages to one another and may not exactly know where people are from time to time, they can at least swap ideas and say, look, I've got tons and tons of people coming in here. What do you think the best thing is to do? And then they can sort it out amongst themselves. But yes, we've got the basic layouts. And it's kind of interesting to see some of the commanders trying to figure out how to best to use their units. And a little bit more about the situation, because I have designed a scenario that it tries to be as faithful to the historic situation. Really, sometimes when you want to create a Kriegsspiel, and I've taken this opinion from a lot of other channels out there, sometimes you don't want to fight the historic battle as it happened. You want to introduce a slight twist and introduce certain things to make it a little bit more interesting. So let me first of all talk you through it. The Royalists, obviously you can't really do much with the Royalists. They are situated in and amongst the town as they were historically. Obviously you have Charles Lucas, was a Colchester local. I thought him and his troops could start around St John's Abbey, which makes sense if you are a local and you don't fancy spending a night in the town and you've got your troops in them and amongst you, then why not spend the night at your family house? And then we've got Lord Capel. He's spending the night at the Hole in the Wall public house next to the Balcone Gate. Maybe I could have put his cavalry on the other side of the wall, all those horses chewing up the grass, but we've laid them along Head Street. And then you have the Earl of Norwich and George Lisle with their troops in and amongst Castle Park. So that's where they're starting. But with regards to Sir Charles Lucas's cavalry, we've put them on this road here, just to see what he does with them. Now where it gets interesting is when you have the parliamentarians. because I looked through the historical information, and the opening skirmish was around Malden Road. Reports said that there was a lot of bushes and brush and a little bit of forest along Malden Road, and that is where they had their little first engagement before General Fairfax tried to go through the headgate. And with respect to their approaches, some say Fairfax came down Lexden Road, others say he came up Malden Road. So what I've gone and done is I've taken the historical context and I've said, well, Colonel Barkstead and Lord Fairfax are marching up Malden Road, and then you have Sir Thomas Honeywood, who famously raided the munition stores at Braintree only a couple of days before the Royalists got there to try and seize it. He can approach from the west, as Braintree is 20 miles that way. He can approach from the west with some of the munitions and what have you. And then it would be up for the commanders to try and link up and try and talk with each other. Now, Fairfax has been made aware that Honeywood is in the area, and Honeywood has been told that he sent a courier to tell him that he was arriving on the battlefield. But to introduce a slight bit of unfamiliarity and uncertainty, they're not sure when one another will get there, and it will be interesting to see how they manage that. And another also little spanner I've thrown in the works for the parliamentarians is that you have Colonel Gordon of the Suffolk Band. Now we've come up with a scenario for the player, for Colonel Gordon, who's coming down here because he's heard there's a ruckus going on and the Royalists are plundering the countryside, and he wants to put a stop to it and try and assist Fairfax. It'll be interesting to see how these three parliamentarian elements link up. Now, of course, with regards to the historical information, I believe Colonel Gordon arrived a little later than he did with regards to this game. We're having Colonel Gordon arrive at 11 o'clock on the day of the battle, but I think it's quite possible that he didn't actually get there to see the major fight. His troops just turned up, and Fairfax said, "Okay, well, thanks for coming. You can guard this side of the river," and that's what they did for the months that they were there. But in this scenario, and because we like to be cheeky, we're going to say that Colonel Gordon is a couple of days ahead, and he's managed to get his rabble of men down into the area of Colchester to assist. And it's quite funny because Fairfax knows that there is a commander commanding Colonel Gordon, but he's not sure where he's arriving either. And Colonel Gordon has been told, even though he can chat to the people in the Discord and what have you, maybe don't tell him where Colonel Gordon is coming from, because neither the Royalists or the parliamentarians were really expecting Colonel Gordon to show up. And I guess in some scenarios, if you want to play this game yourself, you could probably have Colonel Gordon, because at the time I read that a lot of bands around the country weren't really getting paid by Parliament all that well, and some even switched sides and got upset because of it, because they weren't getting paid by Parliament. So I guess you could, if you were doing this, either flip a coin or give the choice to the player who's playing Colonel Gordon whether he does want to switch sides. His men are a little bit upset that they haven't been paid on the regular, but I think that would sway it too far in the way of the Royalists. So yeah, where we have two scenarios where the royalists might have a disadvantage with regards to troop quality, they do have the advantage of being closer and more of a collective unit, where the scenario and the test for the parliamentarians is can they work together and figure out how best to take the town. Only time will tell. And I'm looking forward to it as my first Umpire experience. And I'm hoping, where we start the game with 8 players, we'll be ending with 8 players. I want to try and keep the game as enjoyable as possible. But you do have dropouts from time to time. But hopefully not this time. I would suppose after this video I will be posting another one straight after, or either tomorrow, of the first orders. Now this will be pre-recorded at least 3 weeks to a month before we publish it, because we don't want to ruin the game, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. And yeah, fingers crossed for a good game, guys. Good luck.